Well, we're finally here. The climax of Girls Und Panzer their film. The final clash of not only the grandest battle of the franchise, but one of the best battle scenes of this size ever put to screen in any form. And, fitting with how this tank battle has progressed, it's now become a very small, contained, intimate affair, far removed from the large, flashy engagements we saw earlier. Not that there isn't plenty of eye candy in terms of the tank action, of course. Today, though, we'll focus on the storytelling aspects of the scene, and then in another video soon, we'll take a closer look at the technical and tactical aspects of this engagement. Obviously, spoilers for the final battle of the movie ahead, as well as a couple of potentially small DOS finale spoilers, but you know the drill. So now let's get right to it. The core of this battle is basically two things: the ultimate battle between the Nishizumi and Shimada families, and Miho and Maho fighting alongside each other for the first and last time, at least that we see on screen. Obviously, there's also the fate of Ori being held in the balance here, which is what Miho and Maho are fighting for, but that's really just part of the background at this point. I've made a video in the past about how great Girls Und Panzer is when it comes to action scenes with minimal dialogue, and this is the perfect poster child for that. When I rewatched it again before making this video, I was once again struck by just how little dialogue there actually is. Alice has only one spoken line, Miho has two, the rest of her crew each have one, and Maho has zero. And the scene just works perfectly, letting the visuals and the incredible score do the work. At a very basic level, the lack of dialogue makes this probably one of the closest depictions we can get of what an actual tank battle would sound like. Engines revving, guns firing, terrain getting smashed up around them. It also emphasizes the skill, the quiet professionalism of everyone involved. Exaggerated reactions to the things going on would detract from the tension and the action, which is why even though we clearly see characters giving orders a few times, we're not privy to what's being said. We have no idea what exactly they're planning, and while, given the genre, we know who is probably going to win, it still keeps you on the edge of your seat every time. As I mentioned a moment ago, scenes like this are about as close an approximation as we can get to watching an actual duel between tanks from the outside. There too, we wouldn't be able to hear any commands being given, and can only follow the action based on what we see and hear from the vehicles themselves. This also makes the few dialogue lines we do get hit all the harder. Miho's urgent order to move forward after getting spared elimination due to Alice's bare-caused hesitation, her short exchange with her crew. It was important to give them at least a brief moment of screen time in this climactic battle to remind us that while it is, at its core, Miho's story, this is still very much a team sport, and they all played a big part in getting here. And of course, at the end, we have Alice's realization of Miho and Maho's plan at the very end, just a bit too late to spoil it. As has been the case throughout the battle, demonstrating just how well matched the two teams ultimately were, the numbers advantage shifts again, and more than once. This final clash originally had the university team at a 3-2 advantage, since they were, and still are at this point, the on-paper more powerful team, but in less than 2 minutes, Miho and Maho bring it back to a 2-1 advantage in their favor. After all, this is the Nishizumi versus Shimada battle, so step 1 had to be getting rid of the two extras. And it also reminds us of just how good at this they all really are, and by extension allows us to fully comprehend Alice's skill in that she could take both Miho and Maho on alone. And in many respects, this is a duel in a classical sense, albeit with two fighters on one side. The tanks are constantly maneuvering, jockeying for position, just like one might in a sword duel, and I'd be shocked if at some level the close quarters action between the tanks at several points here, charging each other, at times colliding, didn't take at least some inspiration from classic depictions of samurai duels. There's also a nice callback to Miho's little trick maneuver we saw way back during the first battle with St. Gloriana, which Alice foils here, and which I suppose could be seen as the first hint that she'd eventually join St. Gloriana in DOS finale. Narratively, it's also very fitting that what winds up saving Miho in the brief moment where Alice could have knocked her tank out is a very Boko-like bear, which of course brings to mind the connection we've already seen between the two Boko superfans. That kindred spirit caused Alice to falter and Miho to win, thus ultimately giving them, and of course us, the best possible outcome. Ori is saved, and the Boko Museum also gets restored. Another noteworthy bit of visual narrative here is how the fight is bookended. Once the pure Nishizumi versus Shimada battle began, Alice started it on top of the mountain, with Miho and Maho assaulting from down below. And then it ends with the Nishizumi sisters starting on top and attacking Alice, now on the low ground. You also probably get the definitive Miho hero shot here, as the Panzer IV climbs the slope. The climactic moment of the battle was always going to have to be as combined an Nishizumi effort as possible, both due to Alice's position as quote-unquote the final boss, and because, as we mentioned before, part of the essence of this is the completion of the reunification of the Nishizumi sisters.
and, to a degree, their entire family. We saw the Miho-Maho relationship already largely healed at the end of Season 1, but this, them fighting side by side one more time, brings it full circle. And of course, even though their mom might be too tsundere to admit it, she is proud of and accepts Miho's chosen direction now. And we see, during this fight, just how powerful a duo Miho and Maho are. And we can understand now why Kuromori and Mine had such a long win streak going before the incident. Throughout the battle here, we can see just how in sync they are, how effectively they communicate and coordinate maneuvers, from how they, rather quickly, take out Megumi and Azumi, who we've already seen are no slouches when it comes to senshado, and then how they work together to take on Alice and her technically superior Centurion. While we know that both Miho and Maho are great at what they do, and that they have excellent tanks under them, and excellent crews of course, Alice is the final boss here. And the way the fight plays out shows us that beautifully. Her tank really only takes one really noteworthy hit throughout the battle until the very end, and that hit just leaves a superficial mark on the armor. We see her land a number of hits on both Miho's Panzer IV and Maho's Tiger, by contrast, knocking off pieces of armor each time, particularly on the Panzer IV. Additionally, sometimes the Centurion is almost treated like a monster, appearing almost out of nowhere to ambush the Ori tanks, or to frustrate a planned maneuver, sometimes crashing bodily past them. The sound design also gives the newer tank almost a more sci-fi type of feel, further showing its innate technical superiority as a slightly later tank that only just makes the high school, and I suppose college, senshado cutoff. And of course, the final move in particular had to be a clever team effort between the Nishizumi sisters, something so out of the box that Alice wouldn't see it coming. It's also very much in Miho's character to willingly sacrifice herself, or rather her tank, to ensure that they make this final kill. Not to mention in character for her as a huge Boko fan, for her tank to be all shredded up at the end of the fight. And given her kinship with Alice, both before and after these events, it's also very fitting that she's the one to knock her tank out. And they actually knock each other out, so in a way it leaves their friendly rivalry at an even point. I suppose it also may have been intentional to have Maho be the last tank standing, as in the sisters' last battle in Season 1, it was Miho's tank still standing. So this kind of bookends their joint high school senshado careers, given Maho's impending graduation. This battle will also, of course, have a lasting impact in terms of Miho's friendship and rivalry with Alice. But that's a topic for another video. As I said at the start, this is one of the best action scenes ever put to visual media. A very intimate conclusion to such a large battle, personal but with big stakes. Ori's survival was on the line after all. Also, remember Darjeeling's remark, just as her own tank was knocked out earlier? Well, this final battle here lasts almost exactly 5 minutes, and indeed, it did decide everything. There's a reason her school is the next final boss, after all, with Alice in tow no less. I know I can't wait for that battle to be concluded in its entirety in a couple more years, but until then we still have plenty more amazing tank battles in Das finale to look at from both narrative and technical angles, so I hope you all stick around for that and much more. If you enjoyed this video and would like to support me and what I do here, my books and light novels are all available on Amazon, and you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks, and updates on my upcoming manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. I also offer channel memberships, which get you access to monthly members' only watch-along streams. And as always, if you have any thoughts on this video or just anything Girls und Panzer related you'd like me to talk about, definitely share them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear them, and while I might not get to respond to every comment, at least not in a timely manner, I can guarantee that I read each of them. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.